Helping people is what I'm all about. Just don't expect any good results.
You got a steady back home? Because my exquisite derriere might make you say otherwise.
Don't expect me to fight the power without creating a scene.
Hello and welcome to the Real Housewives of River Heights. My name is Jade Gregory, and as always, we have my wonderful and amazing fellow housewives, Tina.
Hello, my beautiful dolls.
And Nikki.
Hello.
Today on our episode, we have special guest Heidi Van der Hune.
Hello.
Hello, thanks for joining us today. You want to tell the listeners some things about yourself?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited. So I'm actually, in real life, I'm an archaeologist and I work in the Maya area. Me and my husband, we are actually a little team and we analyze obsidian and jade and chert objects in the whole Maya area. So we've worked in Copan, which is mentioned in the game that we're talking about today, and we've traveled all around. So from Mexico all the way down to Honduras. We've worked on different Maya sites. So this was a really exciting game. Actually, my first trip with him was in 2016, and we actually played this game in the field. So that's like a cute memory for me.
Nice.
Wow.
I love it.
Have you been to Palenque? Is that where the tombs are?
Yes, I haven't worked in Palenque, but we did go there. It's amazing. Highly recommend going. It's just a beautiful site, really well kept up. It's just beautiful. So I highly recommend going. They don't let you in Pacal's tomb. It's called the Temple of the Inscriptions. They don't let you in there anymore. But you can go into his wife's tomb. So I've been in there, which is close enough. It's next to it.
They're neighbors. That's fine.
Yeah.
Nice. But you worked on those fields. Are they open to the public or is it closed off?
Yeah, pretty much visit them all. Copan is really amazing. They have a whole archaeological park, and it's also a reservation for caw birds. So it's like a crazy jungle experience, and you can climb all of the pyramids there, and it's really amazing. I just really highly recommend visiting archaeological sites if you're ever in any of those areas. It's great. It's really great. So.
Wonderful. Love it. As always, spoiler warning for those who have not yet played the Nancy Drew video game series. Also, there will be swearing, talks of alcohol, etc., etc. So kick the kiddos out and let's get rolling. Today we will be discussing Nancy Drew and The Secret of the Scarlet Hand, number 6 in the series by Her Interactive. The game is loosely based on a book of the same name, book number 124 in the series by Carolyn Keene. The game was released on August 12, 2002. Between cases, Nancy has taken an internship as deputy curator at the Beach Hill Museum in Washington, D.C., where her father's friend Franklin Rose works on the board of directors. The museum is about to open a new exhibit about the Mayans, with the centerpiece being a huge mysterious monolith excavated in Palenque, Mexico. However, a few days later, one of the museum's most prized artifacts is stolen, with only a red handprint left in its place. The theft seems connected to others across the country, and Nancy begins to investigate to find out the truth. Will you be able to put the pieces of this ancient puzzle together, or will the mystery remain entombed forever? Alright, so the game starts off with Joanna Riggs, who is the curator of Beach Hill Museum, showing Nancy around the museum, especially the prized piece, a carving of King Pacal made of jade. Joanna Riggs, she has an eagerness to obtain rare Mayan artifacts, but they have gotten her into financial trouble with the Beach Hill Board of Directors before. She knows a few Latin phrases and is usually all business. She doesn't get along well with the Mexican consulate due to artifacts that the museum has acquired under shady circumstances. This is actually one of the first scenes where you have a view of Nancy under shadow, but it's still exciting to see her. And then shortly after, Joanna gives Nancy a task list to work on, which is kind of what you kind of do, like the whole game. So do we have any thoughts about Joanna? I keep calling her Joanna.
I want to love her because she's like a boss, curator woman, archaeologist, but she's really kind of useless in the game and, doesn't actually care about archaeology, it seems, and also doesn't know anything. and is just too busy working on whatever she's doing research on in her microscope. Like, she just sets a teenager with no experience or training, just like, do it. Like, just do this stuff.
That's true.
That's a good point, because all I can remember from her is that annoying phrase, Henry can help you with that. Like,
Yeah.
aren't you the big hunch over here?
Yeah.
Well, I'm in front of you right now. Like, right now, can't you, like, just say some helpful stuff so I can do it? Why do you send me to ask the same question to someone else? So either she doesn't know how to do those stuff, or she just wants Nancy to lose her time pestering other people doing their job. So
Yeah, and then she even gets offended when you like ask her like, "Oh, where's Henrik? I need to translate this thing." And she's like, "What am I? Like fish food? Why didn't you ask me?" And it's like, "'Cause you always deflect us to other people, Joanna."
And he's literally an expert
Yeah.
on the glyphs. Like, she says that in the
Yeah.
beginning.
yeah, she like mistranslate it. She was like the magician full gold, whatever, something like that.
The magician suffers yellow death.
Yeah, and it's like not entirely like it's like vaguely correct, but Henrik is like, "Oh, that's not actually correct."
I also hate to break it to everyone, but it says nothing like that. So
What does it say?
Oh.
Does it say anything?
Oh.
it actually is, so phonetically it's ik huboi, which means something like the wind god is conquered. It's just like
Oh.
taken directly from like a monument. So most of the text on everything, and I'll get into this later, but they just kind of steal from monuments, which is kind of cool. They kind of steal from monuments and stuff. But yeah, I just want to say to anyone out there who's ever gotten like a tattoo or something from this game, like, it's not what you think it is.
Oh. Well, you heard it from Heidi, folks. You might want to run by her and check what do you have tattooed on your body. Send us your pictures of your tattoos. We'll
Yeah,
let you
please.
know what do you actually have on your body, and hopefully it's not too bad.
I'm not sure why someone would want the magician suffers yellow death tattooed on their body, though. But you
Yeah.
never know.
Well, he says, what does Henrik say? The fool suffers.
Yeah, it's something.
What is it? The fool suffers like oozing.
Yeah, it's like a plague
wounds
of
or
oozing
yeah,
hives.
which it definitely doesn't mean that either.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So yeah, all of this to say is that Joanna is a bad boss.
Yeah.
This is the conclusion.
And then she doesn't even have like respect for the field because she does shady deals. So
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Which we learn about as we go, what she's done.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see. So after talking to Joanna, you meet Henrik van der Hune, a world-renowned expert on Mayan hieroglyphics. So he works at the Beach Museum. He was hired by Joanna from the Shako Cannon Culture Center, where he worked previously. He's an expert on glyph translations. He works in the museum's lab studying priceless artifacts. Perhaps he's learned something in his translations, and then he stole the Pacal stone to keep others from learning its secrets.
Heidi, can you ask your husband why he's not wearing a shirt under his lab coat? I always wanted to ask.
he's just really into beige. Beige is the overall color of archaeology. Khaki, beige,
Adobe beige.
like the green khaki. Yes, Adobe beige.
Mhm.
I bet that's what it
It's
is. I bet that's
making
Adobe
us
beige.
see him in a non-innocent light. I get it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He
I
is.
He's kind of
You
ripped.
gotta do what you
so
gotta do.
I was playing this game on Friday and I was like, why is Henrik like jacked? They didn't have to do that, but they did.
He goes to the gym.
they really did. He climbs
He
pyramids.
climbs
It is.
and falls.
It's exhausting.
On pyramids.
Mhm.
Oh.
Oh yeah. They are kind of terrifying to climb
Mhm.
because in some of them the stairs get smaller as you go up. So you reach a point where
gosh.
like your toes are on the stair and you're like, I'm gonna die. Like they tell you to climb down some of them like with your hand, like crawling, but like your feet first, like kind of on your butt. So yeah, so I've almost fallen down, and just his like fall flashes through my brain every time I'm on a pyramid.
First things first, I just want to say, if you want to know what a silver fox is in the Nancy Drew game, look no further than Henrik van der Hune, real
Yes.
silver fox. But also
Mm-hmm.
about Henrik, for an archaeologist, are there any instances where an archaeologist can, become rich or make a lot of money, or are they all poor?
All the work you do.
Pretty much all
Yeah.
poor. It really, yeah. I mean, if you get a really good job, like with tenure at a university, you could be good set. But most of the time, you're like, you're not rich. You're not doing this to make money. I've made no money off of this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we even like pay for our own flights sometimes to like get
For
down
all
there
the
to work on stuff.
contributions
So
you're doing, and you have to pay for your own
Yeah.
flight.
yeah, you're like
It's,
doing your own research pretty much.
Is it at
So
least no? Is it economy or is it better?
depends
Oh,
on
yeah,
how
yeah,
many
yeah, yeah.
flyer
Always
points
on
I
flyer
have at the
points.
time.
All right. It is from him that we
Mhm,
learn
mhm.
about Hurricane Sunny in his words. So Sunny was the last deputy curator for the museum, and he left behind a very helpful notebook with maps and doodles. But Henrik was not very fond of him or his theories about the Mayans were abducted by aliens.
I will
Yeah.
say this though. I will say this. I'm interested to know your thoughts on Sunny,
That's why I
Heidi, because Sunny had a piece of pottery in his box, and
Mhm.
he hid a lot of stuff. He touched a lot of stuff, and I know you're not a museum curator, but as an archaeologist, how do you feel about someone like Sunny June working in a museum?
Well, I have a lot of thoughts about Sunny June. As a kid, I loved him. But then now that I'm older in archaeology, you just realize, so the whole saying aliens did stuff like build the pyramids, it's so like racist, because it's totally not crediting. It's saying like how could they figure this out? It must have been aliens. So, and in the culture, they say like, oh, the Maya, they're gone. Like they disappeared, they're gone. But no, they're here. They're here today. Like there's tons of Maya people in Guatemala and Honduras, everywhere. And the thing you hear most is like, oh, aliens, they're gone. They got abducted. They're all gone. They couldn't have built the pyramids. It must have been aliens. So it's like really like as an adult and in archaeology, you just see how that, even though it's a joke, like aliens, you see how it's harmful to people's idea of the Maya. So that on that end, that's what I think about that. But also he sucks at his job, and that is not how you handle really fragile pottery. And he clearly had no respect.
Yeah, I
for
never
any
thought
of the
about
artifacts,
it.
so.
Like I love his passion for aliens, probably in hyperfixation, and probably why he buys all of the super wacky conspiracy theories when it comes to aliens. But yeah, I never thought about how it came across, like how disrespectful it is to these cultures, about all of the work that they put on in the pyramids or the architectures itself. So yeah, I didn't think about it that way. So it's really interesting way to look at Sunny like now as an adult.
Also, I think that Henrik says that he like would take artifacts out of displays and like rearrange stuff, and I think he even broke stuff. So
Yeah, oh yeah, he broke stuff.
I mean, Nancy doesn't use gloves to touch anything in this game, and she just willy-nilly opens every case she has to get into, and so I already have an issue with that.
Yeah, and like, to be honest, I don't think she was qualified to even put that vase back together.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
No, she had zero training, so I can't blame her for that.
Who was it? Like Franklin Rose? Was it another rich white guy who managed to put Nancy in a position that she has no business in?
Yeah, straight up nepotism right there.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, I used to I used to work as
Yeah.
a gallery guard in an art museum, so this game now as an adult pisses me off to know. Like, it just.
I know some of you, this is your favorite game, and might sound like we're being negative right now.
I am being negative.
Yeah.
These are just the realities of how this is a game.
Yeah.
This is a game and not a real museum. You just have to tell yourself that.
Nancy's not about to put her greasy hands on everything in real life.
Speaking of,
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
the jade carvings would be fine with her touching them, except they already talked about how they rub
Right.
cinnabar into their carvings. So that would be bad.
I
Very bad.
wonder, yeah, I was like, they don't just like dip a finger in the cinnabar and are like, I assumed that they did it with like a brush or something, but still.
Yeah, but Nancy's just like carrying it around.
Right now, she's kind of radioactive. There's nothing that is going to kill her at this point. I mean, she came back to life so many times. There's nothing to stop her, really. Not even
Speaking
cinnabar.
of accuracy, one thing that I did notice in this game is some of the Maya facts around the museum are incorrect. Namely, they use an Aztec god as one of the Maya gods.
Yeah. Well, are you talking about Tlaloc?
Yep.
He actually shows up in all the way down in Copan even. So Tlaloc is he's kind of passed down. He's an Aztec god, but he's kind of taken by the Maya and used. So that one's okay. But there are other things that are kind of like
I think that we should have a whole section just for the accuracies and inaccuracies.
Gameplay. There we go.
Yep.
But we'll talk about this later.
After meeting Henrik, we eventually meet Alejandro del Rio. He is the attaché to the Mexican consulate, and he's a little ticked off at Joanna in the museum for taking an artifact he believes rightfully belongs where it came from, his homeland of Mexico. So
rightfully so.
Yes,
he's
so
not wrong.
Alejandro actually knows several languages: Spanish, English, and
Quiche?
No, he speaks Nahuatl. So they actually never pronounce. So it's they say Nahuatl, but it's actually pronounced Nahuatl. And like, so when you ask him for the word for snake, he's like coatl, and it's coat. So like you don't pronounce the L. So like they struggle with pronouncing pretty much everything in this game. So they're probably just reading it.
Yeah, I don't think they looked it up.
Yes, so Alejandro passionately believes that all artifacts should be returned to the country they were found, especially when it comes to his home country, Mexico. He believes that Mexico has been robbed of one of its greatest artifacts, the Pacal carving. Would he take extreme measures in order to bring back all the artifacts to Mexico?
They paint him in such a bad light.
Yeah.
Like, Nancy's straight up rude to him, and I feel like she talks down to him. And she walks up and it's like, Me llamo Nancy.
This was awful. Yeah, I cringed so much when she said that. And not that Nancy is not trying. I mean, when she went to France, kind of she tried that as well. But you know what can you do? And honestly, if you are a kid, maybe you will see Alejandro in a bad light. You might wonder, hey, what is this guy like angry about? Why is he always angry and always yelling at Nancy? It's like what did she even do to him? She's just talking to him calmly and he's just yelling at her or talking loudly at her. But as an adult, you understand more about history. You understand more about colonialism, conquistadors. So now you're like, oh, he actually was right. He actually had a point there. Nancy's the one who needed to be educated. And there was this part where she was like, but Alejandro, this happened hundreds of years ago. What does this have to do with today and Beach Hill?
Yeah, I remember that. And it's like, it's so like ignorant. And then I think the other dialogue option is like something like, oh, Joanna just wants to display your artwork and like show it to as many people as possible. And he's like, well, they should come to Mexico then.
Yeah,
it's like,
he's
not
totally
wrong.
right.
Yeah, he's not wrong. Also, it helps that honestly this game has some hot people in it.
Very true, yeah. No, he's hot for sure.
Yeah, he's hot. So, better listen.
Yeah, He's definitely hot.
Even Joanna is hot, to be fair. She's cute.
There's one part of the game, like when you give the monolith agreement thing to Alejandro and he insists on coming himself to give it back to Joanna. I don't know if it's just me, but I always felt like they were like banging or something
They are.
because he was like very insistent that he go there in person, and Nancy's like, I can do it, and he's like, no, I'm gonna go. So I always thought that like maybe on the low he was like having something
But he
with
calls
Joanna.
her a modern
angry
day,
fuckers.
yeah, a modern
He
day
does.
conquistador, and is so mad at her.
Yeah, they're enemies to lovers.
I mean, it's kind of easy to make an enemy out of Joanna. It's just so easy. The getting to the lover part that's the tricky part.
All right. So, when you first check out the museum's garden, this is when you meet Taylor Sinclair, the art dealer who helped Joanna get a hold of the monolith. Taylor Sinclair is an art dealer with an office in Washington, D.C. He believes something shady is going on at Beach Hill and fears for the future of the museum. He's also concerned about the robberies of Prudence Rutherford at a museum in New Mexico. Is he just pretending to be concerned to get off Nancy's suspect list?
So about Taylor Sinclair, it's this guy. I mean, we know from the beginning that he's a crook.
Yeah.
He
so
looks
sleazy.
sleazy. He acts sleazy.
He looks sleazy.
He
and
looks real greasy.
I played this game with my partner on Friday, and as soon as Taylor appeared, he had a visceral reaction. He was just like, I hate this guy.
Let's say this is your first time playing it and you don't know who the culprit is and all of that. I don't know how you could imagine an ending where this guy doesn't at least get in some trouble with the law. It's like, dude, if the ending doesn't include him just like getting exposed for being a crook, I don't know what that. Either is the villain or he is about to get caught by police for something totally different. I don't know,
Yeah,
but
he's,
he's
he's guilty of
100%.
something.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys ever noticed, but actually, if you read the provenance documents for the Pacal carving, one of the previous owners, I think the one that actually Joanna and Taylor bought the carving from in an auction, they died because their air conditioner malfunctioned. And I feel like it's somewhat suggested that Taylor may have killed, like he may have been responsible for that because they got the
I
Pacal
remember
carving in an
this.
estate auction because this old couple who owned it died and their estate was auctioned off, and that's how Joanna got the carving. And so I think you can sort of connect the dots and assume that Taylor may have tampered with their air conditioning and killed them to
I
get the
think
carving.
there's a
but
note
I
in
don't
there
know
that
if
says something
Ah.
like, "It's a shame their air
Yeah.
conditioner went out at this in the heat of the
Yeah,
summer," or
and it was
something
like,
like that.
oh, unfortunately they didn't have any kids, so like we have to auction off their estate, and that's how Beach Hill got the Pacal carving.
Did it say how much they
Interesting.
paid for
$1
the
million.
carving Beach Hill?
It's like, yeah, it's around $1 million is what it says.
Can we talk about Taylor's cookies?
Oh my gosh, those like Oaxacan Oreos.
This hurt my soul when I heard this. My childhood was just blown away.
So Heidi, those cookies.
Cookies?
Are
Well,
they
chocolate is a huge
now?
thing, especially in the whole Maya area. So yes, chocolate cookies would be a thing. I don't know about a specific Oaxacan cookie.
Do they have these
Not that I've
looking
seen.
fillings in?
Not that I've seen. But chocolate, seriously, like hot chocolate. Like the Maya used to drink hot chocolate. I think there was a previous episode where you guys talked about chocolate milk.
Oh.
And you talked about it goes back. So they
Yeah,
used to
hot chocolate,
actually
yeah.
so
about it.
cacao beans like came from the area and they actually traded them and used them kind of as currency. They've actually made fake cacao beans before as like fake money. But yeah, no, they'll have like kings and people will have you'll find like a cup and it'll say on it like this is their chocolate drinking cup. And it was a big thing. They put like peppers in it, so it was like spicy. But it's really, really good. So yeah, it was a big thing. It's super
spicy
good.
chocolate.
It's weird because you're like sweating in the jungle, but then you drink it and it's just so good. I'm obsessed.
There is no wrong time to
No,
have hot
there's not.
chocolate.
I don't know. Jungle sweats don't sound very good.
Yeah, it's weird. You just gotta do it someday. Just drink your hot chocolate.
Yeah.
In the middle of the jungle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would do it in the
Mhm,
middle of the
mhm.
jungle. Love hot chocolate.
All right, so Taylor explains that there's been a rash of thefts in the art world, and he's worried that Beach Hill will be next. One of the victims of a theft is Prudence Rutherford, who is a reoccurring phone character throughout the series who makes her debut in this game. How do we feel about Prudence?
So I don't want to bring in the other games. I will judge it based
Good.
on just it here. I will say this. She is absolutely awful. Her voice is nice. Her voice is nice. I will tell you. I think they changed the voice at some point. I
I
don't
feel
know,
like it
but
was a man doing her voice. Like, did
It
anyone
is a
else?
man.
That's what I
Yeah.
thought. It sounds like a man doing like a falsetto.
It's the same guy that does the audio guide, I think.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's I don't know. I like the sound of his voice in this game. However, the character itself is kind of awful. Whoever did that voice portrayed well what a socialite basically is.
Yeah.
Honestly, making a necklace out of an actual Mayan artifact, just making it a necklace so you can go at parties and show it to your guests. How you cannot be more socialite than this?
Yeah, I mean,
just
Yeah.
Poppy Dada took her carving and glued it to a painting. So
At least she's like a teenager.
yeah,
But yeah, Prudence, like she cares, but I don't think she actually knows. Like she funds all this stuff, but then she's like, my so and so relative archaeologist from the past stole this and it's beautiful and I love it, so I made it into a necklace. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's like you care, but also you don't understand how this is a bad thing.
like I'm sure a lot of rich socialites care, but in a very surface level way. It's the same when a rich person hosts a charity ball. It is basically it. It's a charity ball. Oh, look at me, just like, having all these people they're giving to charity and all of that. But really, it's about, it's all about, showing off to your rich friends, and philanthropy.
Yeah.
What better way than philanthropy? I might be harsh when it comes to Prudence. I'm extra harsher because
I don't know if you guys noticed this, but in the magazine interview that Prudence does, where you first learn about her, she mentions that her first husband drowned, and I kind of read it like Prudence may have killed him, because she says like, oh, he like mysteriously drowned. I think after like they had lived in Kansas for some time, and she was like, everyone thought I would go back to New York after my husband mysteriously drowned, but I stayed in Kansas. I'm like, it
All
kind of
these
sounds like she might have killed him.
murder plots in the background.
Yeah. I don't know if they intended it that way, but I was like, kind of sounds like she killed him.
oh, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if she
Well, because she
did.
also goes on to
Not at
have like multiple. She only goes on to be married like I
He
think 3 more
probably
times.
insulted the
Mhm.
corn growers ball or whatever it is that makes you like
Yeah.
have to apologize.
Yeah, if you insult the corn growers ball, you get ejected from the conversation, and you can't progress until you like
Are
call her
you
back and
a
apologize.
corn grower or a corn shower? Yeah,
God dang it.
I'm sorry. I had to bring it up. I mean, and also ball, like, it was just too perfect.
But on a Maya fun fact, so corn was like their main food group. Like they ate corn and everything. They thought people were like made of corn. So it's like the gods give you corn, you eat the corn, and then your blood, your body feeds the gods. So that's like the human sacrifice thing. It's all related to corn. So that's your fun corn fact.
Interesting.
Did they find out about popcorn?
I don't know.
The corn's like,
I think the Native Americans invented popcorn, right? Like the indigenous North Americans. I thought
I'm not sure,
that
but
was
it seems
true.
likely.
I don't know.
yeah. I mean, if you have corn and you leave it under the sun, it's gonna pop. If it's very hot outside. some.
I think it has
I
to
think
be
so,
like
Yeah,
yeah.
the
dried
dried
ones, right?
ones. The dried ones.
Yeah, if
They
you
had
just
dried corn.
They had to
They
dry it out to
dry
make
on the sun,
bread
I guess.
and things like that.
yeah.
So
I imagine it probably was a thing, but I don't actually know. I haven't looked that up, but I'll find it out. I'll let you know.
We're asking all the good
I'll
questions
ask
here.
my husband
Our
and
question.
we'll figure it out.
Did the Mayans have popcorn?
The viewers need to know.
Just like Taylor's worst fears, we leave the museum and we come back, and surprise, surprise, the jade Pacal carving has been stolen, and left in the broken case is a piece of paper with red handprint and some Mayan glyphs on it. So, because there's Mayan glyphs on this, we try to go look for Henrik in the lab. We leave the lab, and what do we hear? Sirens and tumbling down the temple stairs, and Henrik, bam, on the floor. He landed so badly he not only gets a concussion, but he also gets amnesia.
We love it when there is a cliche like amnesia. We just love it. It's our very favorite trope.
So here's a question. Do we think that Henrik was pushed, or do we think that he actually fell? Because I've debated this in some Nancy Drew servers
It was
that I'm in.
sadistic.
Aliens. It was aliens.
Yes.
I think pushed.
I always thought pushed too. I have talked to people who think that Henrik legitimately fell. I always thought it was Taylor who pushed him, but I've talked to people
I mean,
who think
so
that
if you
that's not
go
true
to
and that he
Henrik's
legitimately
notes
fell.
and he talks about Big Bunny, so he knew him because it's
Right.
alleged that that's Taylor Sinclair in the
Yes.
end. Yeah.
Yeah, because
so
Papi Dada will
it
tell you
makes
that his
sense that he would
nickname
try
is
to
Big
murder
Bunny.
him if we have all these murder subplots here.
Yeah, because for those who don't know, in Henrik's journal, you find out that him and Taylor used to smuggle
There's no
art
good
to
archaeologist
college
in
to
this,
pay their
really.
tuition.
They're all horrible.
So
Yeah.
It was a situation. It sucks. It sucks because on one hand you have, well, I mean, if you get a PhD, especially in the United States, you're pretty much setting yourself to never be rich. Your art will be perpetually
Yeah.
poor.
depends on the PhD.
Yeah, I mean, if you can manage to repay all of those debts, I mean, but you, on one hand, you are in so much debt. On the other hand, you could get out of it, but it would mean committing serious crimes and stealing from tombs, which should go against your moral code as an
Yeah,
archaeologist.
it was so painful to do the whole smuggling plot in that. It was just like context for artifacts
Oh
is
my
everything
God.
in archaeology. Like just getting a random object
Mhm.
doesn't mean anything. So like if you get something that's been looted and it can't really tell you anything if you can't prove where it came from, you can't see the context where it was in the ground. You lose everything basically. And so when he's smuggling things, he's literally destroying the archaeological record. And that should be appalling to him if he actually cares about this stuff. And I guess he doesn't.
They want us to realize that he is no longer that person anymore, and he changed, so he's trying to prevent Big Bunny.
Maybe because he still has the ham radio
Yeah.
and all of the information on how to smuggle the artifacts.
Yes.
So
He does.
they don't say that he's not smuggling anymore.
Plus, in regards to like Nancy spending all this time going back and forth between trying to help him remember, he remembers that he wrote those glyphs on the Scarlet Hand note that was found at the crime scene, and like he like remembers taking the carving, but he doesn't like remember stealing it. So kind of throws more suspicion on him.
I always wondered, because I don't think Henrik actually did the other thefts where the Scarlet Hand was left. So I always wondered if maybe he left a Scarlet Handprint so that it would like tie back to. Because I assume it was Taylor who did those other thefts, right?
He left before the theft happened in Chaco.
Right. So those thefts, like the other Scarlet Handprint thefts,
I
that
was
was
wondering the same
Taylor,
thing.
right?
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Because
Do we find out?
They leave it
I
kind
mean,
of vague.
they don't. They don't directly say. We know that.
I'm like, could it be Henrik? Like,
That's what I
Yeah,
thought.
I don't know. That's the thing. Like, because it couldn't have. Well, one of them couldn't have been Henrik because he left Chaco Canyon before it happened. It happened like 2 days
how do
after
we know he
left.
wasn't still in the
But
area?
But
yeah, I don't know.
how would what who mustache guy Taylor,
Taylor?
how would Taylor do it? Also, he didn't work there. Also, so technically,
He knew Prudence Rutherford. He said he would see her at functions every now and then. It's sort of somewhat implied that he killed the people who owned the Pacal to get it. And I don't know about the Chaco. He doesn't really have a connection to Chaco Canyon at all. But yeah, I wish they would have explained more
Nancy
directly.
drew the game
But
that confuses us more than answers
And
questions.
you never find the real ones that got stolen. Like we get the styrofoam case and you make a cast of it, and then we get the replica one. We never find those. So
yeah, you get one of them, the real ones, because we
yeah,
get it
we
on the
smuggle
black
it.
market. But that's the only one. Yeah, we get the replica of the fire ruby necklace, and we get the plaster cast of the other ones. Yeah, I guess we never find
According
those
to
ones.
like some blogs I was reading, they also believe that Henrik was pushed because he knew who was behind it.
That's what I
So
always
they're
thought, that he
saying that
knew it was Taylor.
he was trying to help, because he does say once he remembers that he was trying to protect it. So he took it to try to protect it.
Yeah, I always assumed that too, that like he knew it was Taylor, and so because Taylor could have hid in the temple for a while and waited for people to
Yeah.
leave and then sneak out so no one
Yes.
saw him.
That okay, so we find one of those thingies. What's it
The
called?
hieroglyphs.
Yeah,
Thingies?
The carving?
one of those glyphs, carving.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. In the well, if you do all three level 3 puzzles, you find it in the tomb, where you get the glow stick. So, or is it Henrik who put it there, or is
Yes.
it was
So it would
Henrik?
be Henrik put it there because he then fell from it. So was he getting chased by Taylor? He ran up there, ran in there, hit it, and then Taylor pushed him because he was angry.
That's what I was thinking. Maybe he hid it there, and then he ran from.
Or
Taylor.
did he trip when he was running away from hiding it? So,
I mean, it's stairs. It could be either way.
Or Sunny
But
June?
it is
all along.
suspicious.
Aliens.
All right. Right. Eventually, Joanna is suspended from her position.
Oh my gosh.
So Nancy is left pretty much alone to keep watch over the museum. I can't remember why she was suspended.
She was suspended because you talked to Alejandro Del Rio and say that she lied about, or no, that she ordered Cinnabar or something like that. You like talked to Alejandro about that, and he's like, "Did you tell the police?" And then when you get back to the museum, they're like, an anonymous tip was called into the police and I have to come in for questioning. So then they suspend her. And then they're like, the board's decided that you're the best option to run the museum.
That's even more like, no.
It's like none of you can come in and do, it's like, no, 18-year-old girl, you are the best option.
Yeah, that was wild. Like, I don't even think Nancy has like a degree.
No, she's 18.
You're
She's
literally
like,
alone in the museum with, priceless artifacts everywhere, running the show.
Imagine if Sunny June still worked there. The museum would be like a chaos. I'm scared just thinking about it. What Sunny could have done at that museum while Nancy is investigating. Could he have done? Especially if Joanna and Henrik are no longer there to supervise.
We're just kind of all by ourselves.
I wish someone had this much confidence in me.
To run a whole museum and curation and all of that.
Yeah, and then it's like weird because Nancy's like, "Oh, I'm not qualified to be a curator," and Franklin's like, "Well, I actually want you to be a detective," and it's like, but running the museum does not require detective skills.
Eventually Henrik begins to regain his memories and the translation of the glyphs on the monolith. It turns out the monolith is actually a stone prison, enclosing the body, soul, and entire written works of the Whisperer, a female scribe who wrote an unflattering account of how King Pacal rose to power. The translation mentions 4 keys to open the prison, and we have to find those 4 keys.
First of all, the Whisperer is a hater. Like, how dare you talk about that? Talk about that way to your king. Come on.
So
Yes.
So they give her like an Aztec name, first of all, but also there's no evidence that there were female scribes that I know of. So that's a bummer, number 1. But 2, her story is kind of true. She did kind of pull some strings to get Pakal to be the king. So that was kind
was
of a
hoping you would say that.
true-ish kind of story because it usually goes from male to male. But it went from male, and then she kind of took over, and then was like, he's to like hold the place for him to be king, kind of. So because he was like a kid when it took over. So anyway,
All right, so we have to find these 4 keys. The one is the one hidden in the whatever. It's the one that Henrik hid, right? The one is the one that we get the foam thing. Yeah. Oh, what's the other one? The other one's in the poppy painting. Yeah. Oh, where's the 4th one?
There's the necklace.
The necklace one.
The
other one,
smuggled one from Honduras.
Oh, the smuggled one. I'm forgetting about the black market one. Yeah. So we end up getting all 4 of these, and
I think it's 6 pieces though, isn't it?
6.
There's the calendar stones.
It's supposed to
stones.
Well, it's supposed to be like the Pakal side, the Whisperer side, and then there's the 4 directions.
Yes, those are that's what my notes say, that there's 4 different carvings we need to find.
Oh, good. It's fine.
Yeah, there are 4. What's interesting though is like the way that the key works. You honestly didn't even really need the carvings. Like, I feel like you could have taken a reverse impression of the like whatever like the holes that you put the key in, and could have just made it. It doesn't really seem like you actually needed
the whole
carvings.
thing defies like physics and. Like, it's a piece of stone. How does it work?
Yeah, well, it's like, I don't know, because it's not as if the carvings aren't 3D, like, as in, like, the faces on them don't come out, so it's not as if they have, like, that shape of a hole inside. So, yeah, in theory, you should have just been able to push it and then open it.
More complicated than it probably actually would have ever been.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we throughout the game and a little bit towards the end, we put this square key together, and we're figuring out how to open the monolith. And when we finally finish and open it, inside is a mummy. Who is holding, it's the scribe holding what would assume to be her scandalizing document. However, when Nancy picks it up, it's blank, but the culprit doesn't know that, and they take it from Nancy, and our culprit is Taylor Sinclair.
I'm shocked.
No. No.
Never saw it coming.
Can't be.
I feel like by the time you figure out he used to smuggle art, it's like that kind of makes it obvious that he's the culprit.
And his greasiness.
But
the greasy.
Yeah. Well, that combined with the like the provenance document that says that he, like, that old couple who died from their broken air conditioner, that may or may not have been him. I think that's the evidence that you're supposed to put together.
Right. Then he throws us into the tomb. So now we're in a tomb with a mummy, and I don't know about anyone else, but that is nightmare fuel.
Yeah.
It scared me so much as a kid, especially like when you die, if you don't get out in time, it shows a newspaper article from like 500 years in the future or something. They're like, oh, they found a 21st century mummy and a like whatever century
that is so
mummy.
funny. I love that newspaper clip. Because she's holding a magnifying glass.
Yeah. And she still has makeup on. There's like lipstick on the mummy.
Oh my gosh.
So we end up finding our way out, and we find the real document hidden in a secret compartment within the tomb.
So the document would probably be more important than any other artifact in there, because there's very, very few Maya documents left from the conquistadors, but also they don't preserve well. So like,
Right,
yeah,
'cause
so
of paper.
there's very few of those. So that would have been like a huge deal to find that.
And
Mhm.
the mummy, what about it? Is it valuable? Can they
I
display
mean, we
that?
can't say artifacts are valuable because then we're Joanna Riggs. But it would have been an important
They're
it would have been an
priceless.
important discovery, yeah. And I love that they put the key, the jade, in her mouth because they used to do that. Put
Mhm.
something in their mouth, like a jade in their mouth when they buried them. So that's like
Oh,
in this game, they really did their research for little details like that. So
Mhm.
that I appreciated a lot.
oh, interesting.
All right, I have one more thing. When Nancy finally gets out, all the other characters recite a strange poem about how
That was
Nancy's.
Yes,
so
I
I
was
have
weird.
it
gonna bring
written
this
down.
up if you
I have it
weren't.
written down.
Yes.
It's
A
so
strange
fucking
poem
good.
about how Nancy's awesome and all of history thanks her or whatever. So they say, "Behold, our heroine emerges from the tomb like a mermaid from the sea. Meanwhile, the foolish villain stews in the sour soup of their own miscalculation. From deep in the recesses of time, a wise royal scribe whispers her thanks. And a priceless chapter of history is rescued from obscurity. Way to go, Nancy." And all three of them are just standing there.
Yeah, I'm like, did they rehearse this? Like, they were just waiting for it to come out. Nobody was like with a
Yeah.
crowbar trying to
She's
like
in there
pry
No
it
dying.
one was
open.
helping
They
her.
saw Sinclair push
She's
her
literally in there
in.
dying.
Like,
Yeah, and they were like, "Oh,
let's work
she'll
on
get
this
out, but
poem
we
for
should
when
be
she gets
ready."
out.
Yeah.
Listen, for my 30th birthday, if I don't come to a surprise party and my guests do not recite me a poem similar to this, praising my skills, my beauty, everything, I don't want to hear
Little
about it.
Mermaid.
I'll just go back. These people setting the bar, just like making Nancy look like,
It's like
shit.
Nancy's passed out and is having this weird dream because she's suffocating.
But also, like, if they saw Taylor, like, why didn't they try to subdue him or something? Like, they could have. There was three of them. Like, one of them could have like tackled
They were too
him, and
busy
I don't
working
know.
on their poem, okay? It's more important here. We need to celebrate Nancy just coming out of a
They
tomb.
wrote two poems, one in case she
Yeah,
died,
I
and
guess.
one to like say at her funeral, and then when she
Yeah.
got out.
Who would they? Yeah, they wrote a eulogy too. That's how much time they had to just
Last
stand
but not
there.
least, some honorable mentions are our phone friends. We have Bess Marvin, George Fain, Frank and Joe Hardy, and Franklin Rose as our phone contact.
This is the first Hardy Boys, right?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I think so.
Bess and
Yeah.
George, if there is a prize for the longest card game ever, then it should go to Bess and George because each time when you call them, they're still at their card game. They're
Oh.
still at it.
Yeah, they're playing like Go Fish
Are
too,
they?
which shouldn't take
Oh
that long.
God.
Yeah.
Oh God.
They're
What is up
playing
with
like a
Nancy Drew and
tournament.
what is up with Nancy Drew games and the Go Fish games?
I love that you call Frank and Joe on their car phone.
That's a,
Yeah, God, this game is like ancient.
Oh yeah, and love the fact that the Bess and George are kind of acting as if the Hardy Boys are excited in that way to talk to Nancy, in that way. I don't know. It felt like they were trying to push Nancy and the Hardy Boys together for some reason. I don't know. It felt weird.
I mean.
Yeah, I mean, fuck Ned.
All right, let's move on to our environment. So we're in a museum. This is our first museum of the Nancy Drew franchise, I believe. Yes.
I think so,
There
yeah.
are, I forget, there's like one other or two others.
There's Labyrinth of
Yes.
Lies. I can't think of another museum.
That's the only one I can think of. So we're in a
Yeah.
museum. We have like the front lobby area. We have like the main artifacts area. We have the inside of the pyramid where all like the games are and puzzles and things like that. We have behind that where our monolith is in the garden area, and we have our lab area. And then we have like Alejandro's place, Taylor Sinclair's place, and then we have we live in a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, we're like living in a Holiday
like a
Inn
Holiday
type of
Inn
place.
with really bad bedding. Typical for that. So let's.
I would die for a museum like this being close
Right.
to me.
It's a really nice museum. Like that
That
temple
I
is
would
honestly
like.
really
Exactly.
cool.
As a kid, I would have loved that, but like even as an adult, I would love to play those games.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
honestly.
I love the whole pyramid, like going in and then going further down by playing games, getting further down. I love that aspect about it.
Mhm.
I'm gonna have to deduce points because there are no gift
Oh
shops.
yeah.
And
Yeah, that's
on one
true. There's no
hand,
gift
yes, there
shop.
are no gift shops, and gift shops are a must in every museum because I always stop by the gift shop.
Mhm.
But on the other hand, like nothing is secure in this museum. I could just, the museum is a gift shop. I could just take one of these things and go home.
Yeah, because I think Taylor says that the security there at the museum isn't that great. Like they have alarms, but I don't think they have like I'm not even sure if they have cameras, honestly, because like Taylor was like, "Oh, the board won't
I mean,
pay
they didn't
for
see
better
Henrik
security."
snatching the.
Yeah, like the alarm went off, but I'm pretty sure because I was thinking about this today, like what exactly the timeline was, and I'm pretty sure what happened is Henrik broke the case, took the Pakal and left the note, then ran into the temple to hide it, and then I think when he falls down the stairs, he's coming up out of the temple
But
from
the
hiding
the
it.
falling down the temple, it happens way later than when the alarm went off.
It does, but it could have been like I think it could have been like a couple hours, so maybe he was like in there hiding it and it took a little while for him to get
Oh,
all the way
okay.
down. And then he's like he came back up as Nancy sees him fall. That's what I assume because I'm not sure why else he would
Or
have
he
been in
took
there
it
again.
and left to not talk to the cops or something, and then came back to hide it in there. Maybe
Maybe,
Oh,
maybe.
timeline is
remember that
unclear.
one? Remember that one quiz question? What that? Oh no, 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 no! It's the third level. No, you know what? The third level puzzle where he couldn't figure out, like Sunny June made
Yeah,
up like uh,
Oh, what Pakal was
yeah.
scared
Like
of?
what was Pakal
yeah,
afraid of?
maybe he spent
Quadamundis
a
are
few
the cutest
hours
things ever.
Maybe he spent a
Uh,
few hours like trying to guess which animal it is, and by the time he got it, it was like, oh my gosh, it's been a few days. I've been working on this question, but I found the answer. Now I can open that coffin and put it in there.
I do love the idea of Henrik frantically answering all the temple quizzes. He's like, shit, I gotta get through. Where
He
did Pakal
spends a
live?
few hours just on that map puzzle, on that maze puzzle.
Yeah, because I don't even. I mean, Nancy gets like a normal Temple Geek card. I wonder if there's like one for employees where you can just bypass everything. Because surely there has to be, right? You can't
Yeah,
just like have to do the quiz every
to
time you need
clean
to go
it.
down there. Yeah, it's like the janitor has
But
to get through the
to be
quizzes.
fair, Joanna is the head curator. We never know. Maybe she gave him like a normal card. I mean, Nessie is supposed to
Yeah.
be the assistant curator, but she had a normal
Hmm.
card, so maybe he had a normal card as well.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering about. Because I'm like, surely the deputy
Mhm.
curator should have had like an employee
Yeah.
card, but
And the quizzes are like one of the hardest parts of the game.
Mhm.
Like,
yeah, like because you have to, unless you cheat, you have to like run all over the museum reading
Mhm.
everything to get the
Yeah,
answers.
exactly. There's
Yeah.
a lot of having to write everything you see down.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you're going to have to run around and find all the information you do
Have you
need.
guys ever seen a Quadamundi? They are
No.
so
No.
cute. Like I highly recommend googling it right now because they're like a mix between like a lemur looking thing and like a raccoon,
Are
and
they
they're
those big
so cute.
eyes?
They've got like their nose, I don't know, their nose really moves around and they've got those long tails, but they're also
Oh,
not really scared of you. Like I've had one crawl on my shoulders before and like sniff
Aw.
me, and they're so cute. Like they're one of my favorite animals. They're so cute.
so I just googled Quaddy Mundi in the Google, I'm checking the images, and I love how one of the top images, it's about a Tuxan woman, a dog getting attacked by a Quarrymundi. I love that. I love
M-
this is the sort of stuff that they digged up for me. But they are so cute.
I
It's
think
true.
I was at, where was I? I don't know if it was Palenque. I think there were some at Palenque. There's definitely some in like Tulum area of Mexico. There's like tons of them at the site there. They just like hang out.
Okay, so when they open their mouths, that part is scary. When they yawn or open their
Mhm.
mouth wide open, then they have these two very big fangs on the at the bottom. I think it's that part that scares people, or maybe it's the images that I'm seeing. But if you check
For the
those
most
ones,
part, they're adorable.
yeah. It's just but like those fangs though, they
Mhm.
could kill you.
And they walk around with their tails straight up like that.
Hmm.
They're really cute.
Mhm.
So let's see. Any comments about the monolith? I know you mentioned some stuff earlier to us about some fun facts about the monolith.
Yes. So my husband and I have translated it, like Henrik said he was doing. So now would be a good time to like look at a picture of the monolith. You don't have to, but like it'll make more sense if you're looking at it. So I'm going to do like a little breakdown of what is on the monolith. So if you're not familiar with Maya art, it kind of looks crazy. Like it's really complicated. There's so much going on. My husband says it looks like spaghetti. It's just, you don't know what you're looking at. So the monolith has 4 sides, obviously. The middle panels are all the same on every side. It's a person standing there, and there's a captive under his feet. And then they put the calendar in there for some reason. But they took that image of the stela from a site called Yaxchilan. So that's actually a king. So his name is Yashun Balam. So they actually took that from a real monument. So that is from Yaxchilan, that middle part. It looks like they took a piece from Pacal's sarcophagus too, because there's like a little element underneath him that looks like that. And then over him, there's like a serpent head, and that's probably from Piedras Negras, a site there, from a stela there. So they kind of like mashed a bunch of stuff together for that middle panel on every side. And then on either side of the middle panel, there's glyphs. So each side, okay, I don't know how to word this, but like there's only 2 sets of glyphs, and each one, the opposite one is the same, but it's mirrored, if that makes sense. So if you're looking at like the north side, the south side will be the exact same glyphs, but they're reversed for some reason. It's just like they wanted to make them look different, but they kept the same ones because I guess they digitized the same ones. The glyphs on the one side with the smaller square glyphs, those are from the Temple of the Sun in Palenque. And that talks about the birth and death of the sons of Pacal. So that's Khan Balam and Khan Hokchitam. So it doesn't really have anything to do with what Nancy's talking about and what he's translated. So they actually did a really good job actually in the whole museum digitizing the monuments. So they actually used pretty much all of them are real. Even the Rutherford slab, that one's real. But it's obviously not the Rutherford slab, and it's not talking about what they're talking about it is. But everything else, they pretty much do a good explanation of what it is. I've actually seen, so the bicephalic monster one, that is actually in the sculpture museum at Copan in Honduras. And they did a really good job. That's the only one I can remember. I've probably seen more than one of them, but that's the one that really stuck out to me when I saw it. It was like a moment where I was like, oh my gosh, that's from this game. I've seen it before. So that's the monolith in a nutshell and the sculpture garden.
Nice. That's really cool. Do we have anything else to say about this museum or Taylor Sinclair's office, Alejandro's?
Oh yeah, I wanted to. Okay, so since we have Heidi over here, who is an archaeologist when it comes to Mayans, I wanted to ask about the museum itself and the exposition itself and how accurate what they say are. Also including the glyphs, the whole thing about the glyphs like the numbering system, for example, is the Mayan number system, that how they described it in the game, is it accurate?
Yeah, it is pretty accurate. For most things, the Maya glyphs, they do it phonetically, but then they also have some that are like character glyphs that mean different things. You can really tell they really tried hard. They did a lot of research, but some stuff is just slightly off. So when you're doing glyphs, if there's something that's even slightly off, it can completely change the meaning. So, like we said earlier, if you have one of these tattoos, I'm so sorry. It's probably wrong. So for example, like the water glyph, ha, it actually says ba, which means head. So I'm
Oh,
sorry.
oh.
In case you tattooed
Yeah,
water
so
on your body.
there's just like little things like that where you can tell they were like doing it from a book or they were trying to figure it out. So I mean, I give them credit. Like this, they did a really good job. You can tell they did research. But like their pronunciations of things, like Lady Zach Cook, like Pacal's mom, like that is not how you say it. So
Oh, how do you say it?
it's like more of an S sound, so it's like sock, and then it's ook, like you put like a space in the middle,
Oh.
and it's like an oo, like an oon sound.
Oh.
So
That's interesting that they didn't look up the
yeah,
pronunciations
I mean in
of the words.
2002, you probably couldn't hear anyone say it. Really,
They didn't have Google. They didn't have
they
that's
probably read it
true.
from a book, and so they
That's
did their
true.
best.
They didn't have. Wow. Yeah, I guess I didn't even think about
Yeah,
that.
and there's probably a
Wow,
lot
that's
less
crazy.
available to
Yeah.
just find back then.
The numbering system, did they use the dots and the lines? And
Yes, the bars and dots. That was completely accurate, that part. So if you're ever looking at a monument, they always started off with the date of whatever they're talking about. So if you look at a stela, so if you look at any Maya stela sculpture and it's got glyphs on it, if you look at the top left, you'll see bars and dots next to the different calendar symbols. So if you look at the calendar symbols from the game and you look at the bars and dots, you can kind of figure it out. So, but that is accurate, the bars and dots. So we did learn something glyph wise. So it's always fun to be like, you can tell what number they're talking about.
and the heads of the different heads for the numbers, was it also accurate?
I don't know about those. I know that they do use, like I said, they do different stuff like that, but we didn't actually know those numbers. So I don't know if those are correct or not based on the other stuff. I'm not sure. But yeah, for those, I'm sure it exists somewhere, but I'm just not sure about if those were accurate or not. There were a few other things too in the game that were slightly off. Like there was an Aztec Sun Disk on the floor at the foot of the pyramid.
Oh.
And a lot of people mistake that for Maya stuff. So I can see why they would, because if you Google like Maya calendar, the Aztec Sun Disk always comes up.
Oh.
So I can see why they would get that wrong. And then the ball game. So in the pyramid, when you're playing the ball game, you don't use your hands in the real playing of the ball game. You like hit it with your hips and stuff. So that was kind of inaccurate too.
Oh, the
but,
one where you throw the ball in the
where you're playing like basketball. You like in the real game, you like hit it with your hips. I don't know how they would do that, but they did it somehow.
Huh.
And then we already talked about the glyph on the paper with the handprint. Was definitely not that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and okay, there was a glyph ek, and it signifies black. Was that one accurate?
So that is kind of accurate. They use that, like if you're looking at if they have a jaguar, it'll have black spots on it that are like they have the cross hatching like that. So it means darkness, but I don't know if it's actually used on its own to mean black, but they use it for black. Like they'll put it on a jaguar as its black spots. So that one was pretty good. The one for ink was not accurate. We didn't know what the one for throne was. So they and I have to give them some credit. They really tried. They did a great job digitizing the monuments. Like those all looked amazing. We recognized all of them. The whole environment just seems great. Like they put a lot of details into it, even the doors. in the pyramid, they put so many paintings. Like they just did a really good job, I think, with the environment. But there was just a few little mistakes um,
Oh.
in what they did. But that was, I mean, if you just think about how they did it, then that it all makes sense. So um, I'm giving them a good thumbs up, but there was just a couple mistakes, but it's okay.
The puzzles in the temple, were they all the questions, were they accurate?
For the most part, I would say yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
There are some
the
of the questions that were weird, or
the Maya supreme god one, Itzamna, it was, I mean, that's
well, we know Sina Balducci, the real answer.
yeah, that's the real answer, yeah. I mean, it's not like they kind of make it sound like he's like the number one, but that's not really what it is. They think of time weird, like so he's older than the other gods, and they think I don't know. I was talking with my husband about this because I didn't fully understand it. I was like, we were talking about how they could get that as an answer, and they think he might have made other gods. There's like different rounds in their creation mythology. It's called the Popol Vuh, but there's like different rounds of creation apparently, and he's in an older round. I don't know. It's complicated, and I don't fully understand it, so I can't fully explain it. But that was the only one that was kind of like, I guess that's okay. That I can think of off the top of my head, other than the Quadamundi one.
So there is this whole exposition about, like, this explanation about who King Pacal is. Was it all accurate? Did they get it right? The whole the translation of his name. Also, how he was buried wearing the jade death mask. Stuff, stuff like this. Did they get it right?
Yeah, they did. Actually, his name, it's like Lord Shield Pakal, and in his glyph it's actually a shield like his name. So that's how you can easily recognize his name. If you're looking at it, it looks like a Maya shield. But yeah, no, that was pretty accurate. He thought he was, the best. He's a really, really popular, well-known king.
Would you consider him one of the greatest or the greatest ruler of the Mayan?
Probably. I'm not sure, but he did a lot. So, and then what was the second part of your question?
I was just asking, like, would you consider, one of the greatest rulers of the Mayan classical period, because that's how the museum portrayed him.
I really wish. So he was buried with a jade mask like that, and I think it was funny how they made the carving seem like it was more important than the death mask. They thought they had that there, but it was just like sitting there. But that is like a huge thing. So that would have been like really prominently displayed. It's really awesome. But also they didn't show, I was surprised they didn't show his sarcophagus lid. That's like a really, really cool carving. They kind of show it in the tomb, like in the temple, but I wish they would have put more emphasis on that, because it is an awesome piece. Not to talk about aliens, but a lot of people bring it up about aliens because they're like, Pakal's sitting in a spaceship, but he's not. He's sitting on like a world tree on the a ceiba tree on the sarcophagus lid. But yeah, the jade death mask was a real thing, and it is really awesome. So Google all these things if you're listening and look at them, because they're really cool. And Google all of the monuments in the museum, because they're all real. And so that's another thing too. So the monuments and the pieces in the different cases, they're all pretty good, but some of them, they have the scale super off. So there'll be something in a display case, but in reality, it's like a 6 foot tall, like statue.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So you can tell they like did it from a book, like they were looking at a picture and then made it.
And they didn't realize that it's like a super tall thing.
Yeah.
What about the little? So what about the statues, stone tablets in the gardens? Were they all like also accurate to the?
Yeah. So all those steely, all of those sculptures in the garden are amazing. They really did a great job digitizing those. I don't know what word you actually use. Digitizing. I don't know what the term is, but they did a really great job putting those in the game. The descriptions of them are pretty accurate. Where they're from is accurate. It's kind of what's going on in them isn't always 100% accurate, but they look great. You can Google their names and find them. Where like some of them will say like Beach Hill Permanent Collection, so obviously those aren't there. Like I said before, the bicephalic, which I think it's pronounced bicephalic, but I don't think they wanted to say the word phallic.
But in the
In
Fair
game,
the
I don't
enough.
game.
remember how did they say it in the
So
game?
they say like the bicephalic monster. Most people
Oh,
call it the cosmic monster.
oh,
But yeah, that
interesting.
one's in Copan. Like I said, that's the one I really had a moment with where I was like, wow, it's from the game.
Oh wow,
So that one's beautiful.
that's so
But they
cool.
did a great job.
Huh. All right. So there, you wouldn't say there's any inaccuracies in the game that really bothered you, like something that eats you up. Like, oh, they try to get it right, but like it was so wrong. It's something that really bothers you in the
Other
game.
than the glyphs, not really. You
Hmm.
can tell they really really tried. Like you can tell they really put a lot of effort into making the monuments look great. You can tell they really really tried. So, and even the glyphs, like there's only like tiny mistakes to make them completely mean something else. And glyphs are really hard. They're really
Nice.
hard.
Yeah, I was wondering how they handled the glyphs. Like it must have been super hard to find like how to utilize them or find the meanings stuff for the
Yeah,
game.
it's really really hard. But like yeah, the monolith, they I thought it was really really cool how they really made a mashup from different sites. Like there's like I said, there was stuff from Yaxchilan, Piedras Negras, which is in Guatemala. Yaxchilan's in Mexico, but then Piedras Negras is in Guatemala. They have stuff from a site called Quirigua in Guatemala, Palenque. So they really took pieces from a bunch of different monuments from a bunch of different places and still put them together. It doesn't look super natural, like the way they put the glyphs on there is not how it would be in a normal monument, but they still like pieced it together so it looked like it matched kind of the rest of the monuments that were there. So even though that was their own creation, they still took real stuff to try to make it look as authentic as possible. So I thought that was good.
So the monolith or a monolith, is it a real thing or is it made
It's
up?
they never use the term monolith, so most things so they have how should I say this? So each site you'll see these statues, they call them stela. They're taller than like a human, but they usually have a they're tall and they're horizontal and they've usually got a person on it. It's usually the king, and then they talk about him or something that happened. He's usually wearing like warrior clothes or um, he'll be dressed like a god, and it talks about some event, something that happened on the back. So those are all over the place. That's the closest thing I can think of to what they would call a monolith. So like the middle panel on the monolith would be its own sculpture called a stela, like with the king Yashun Balam on it. But there's nothing really like they wouldn't have made an upright square tomb thing that opens with a key. That's not really accurate. And then they also don't normally use the term monolith. So at least in Mesoamerican archaeology, I think they do in like European archaeology, but they never really do in Mesoamerican archaeology.
So like the whole thing about the whisperer and a scribe getting trapped inside of something by King Pacal, that's all made up, right?
Yeah, that was made up. As far as I know, I don't think that actually happened. But also, just because they made it a woman, and that's not usually a thing, it's usually a male scribe. And then her name, I think it was Kiwapili or something like that, Amashkali. I think that's more of an Aztec name. So I think I don't think that's a real story as far as I know. Now there was a connection between Copan in Honduras and Palenque, but it was near the end of Copan. The dad of the last ruler, Yashpasa, married a woman from Palenque, so they made the big journey from Palenque down to Copan, and they're kind of connected. And you can see there's some monuments that have the Palenque glyph on them in Copan, so there was a connection between Copan and Palenque. So I thought that was interesting that they made those two connected. So they knew something about the history of both of the places. So they did their research.
Interesting. Well, that will be all the questions for the environment.
I have notes about the puzzles, but I think we kind of talked about them.
I
So I will say that the maze puzzle is reused. The computer maze puzzle, that's reused from Message in a Haunted Mansion.
I have to say, this podcast opened my eyes to how you open the map. And I had no idea.
You press the
For 20 years. I had no idea.
I'm not the only one.
20
That's
long
two people.
years.
Oh my gosh.
That's two people we've brought on this pod that have told me they didn't know that you pressed the M. I feel seen. I feel heard because
It was mind
Jade
blowing.
is the real
for that
gamer
long, too.
over here. She's a real gamer.
It doesn't tell you to
No.
press
Yeah.
M, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Does it really?
It,
Okay.
It
Just,
doesn't.
you just wander around blindly
Yeah.
for so long.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's like a life hack. You can press M
Who's
for
gonna
the
think
maze.
It takes like 3 seconds to finish it after that. Before it takes like forever.
Yeah.
You're just going around in circles.
I will say that this game apparently has like a lot of, I don't know if you guys noticed, a lot of milestones for the series. One, it's the first game in which Her Interactive became an independent distributor. It's the first game to feature the new logo for the series. It's the first game to have mention and appearances of the Hardy Boys, Sunny June and Krollmeister.
Ooh.
It's the first game to have a task list and notes besides from the journal in Message in a Haunted Mansion. And it's the first game to feature a trailer for the next one at the end.
Oh.
Interesting. I
Yeah,
didn't
me
realize
neither.
that.
Also, some funny things is Joanna has the same coat as Maddie Jensen, Abby Siderus,
Sidorus.
Sideris.
yeah, and Professor Hotchkiss.
Huh.
Did anyone else notice that?
No.
I didn't notice the coat, no, but that's
They all
interesting.
have the same outfit, just changed the color.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like we don't have anything else to say about gameplay. Anything?
I will say this though. All of the puzzles, or maybe 99% of the puzzles, it's all just museum shenanigans. Like,
But you know what though? Like, I actually like that because I think that the challenges in this game are more realistic. Like, especially in the beginning, like your puzzles are like doing like actual museum chores. So it feels more like you actually are the person solving the mystery as opposed to like later in the series, they have a lot of like really unrealistic puzzles. I always bring up in Sea of Darkness how they have the 2048 to
Oh,
like
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
lighthouse. But I don't know. I like that they have more like realistic puzzles.
yeah,
agree.
it's like yeah, if you are one who loves puzzles that doesn't come out of nowhere, like yeah, that lighthouse puzzle, like what the heck, then yeah, you will love Secret of the Scarlet Hand. All of the puzzles do serve a purpose, whether it is to fulfill your duty as a assistant curator, or just to get through the museum, just one level to the other, until you find the carving inside the tomb, inside the coffin. So I will say this though, I will give them props that they do, if it is one of those games where the puzzles are not random. The puzzles, yeah, you do your job, or you have to get to somewhere, and it is integrated with the environment. Like it is not random. Although personally, I never really minded that sort of stuff. Probably that's probably why I love Labyrinth of Lies. But I never, the fact that puzzles were non-realistic never really bothers me. But in this game, yes, it is museum shenanigans. But if you do want realistic puzzles, this is the game for you. In this case, though, it is pretty annoying. It is pretty annoying to have to go back and forth and for that quiz. It was really really annoying. That bowl puzzle in the temple. This game gave us Bull, and honestly, I would have to deduct points for Bull. Bull should straight up go to hell. The rest of the puzzles were fine. Puzzles were fine. Honestly, unlike a lot of people, didn't mind the whole like putting the audio with the exposition. It was okay. The numeral putting the glyphs in numerical order also was okay. It was. I mean, it's a game about Mayan history. It is a game about Mayan culture and history. I mean, it is in theme. It is in theme. Bull can go to the hell. That basketball puzzle can go straight to hell as well. I'm gonna have to do this.
Yeah, that one was. It's frustrating because if you mess up, you get sent all the way back to the beginning. So it's
Honestly,
like, oh
like
god.
if there was one of those points where I'm like, Nancy, you were able to burn down a hotel in a carnival. Why can't you burn down a museum just now? Like I could straight up set a fire to Bull. I hated this puzzle. I hated Bull so much. Anyway, but the rest of the puzzles were okay or good, so I will give them that. Oh, also I wanted to mention that this game has insane triggers, especially when it comes to calling people, phone conversations. You have to call certain people at certain hours, and you have to call them back over and over again for them to do what you want them to do. You have to call back to apologize to Prudence, to apologize for being insensitive towards her when you call her out on her bullshit. I don't know.
There's also a way to get like stuck in the game. I forget how exactly you do it, but like if you don't do some steps in a certain order, then you can never ask Franklin Rose about Prudence, and so you'll never get the fire
Oh my
ruby
gosh.
necklace, which kind of
Oh,
sucks.
it didn't happen to me this time around, but I feel like it has happened to me before, and
It's definitely happened to me, and I was like super
I also
frustrated.
remember how I couldn't reach out Chaco Canyon Center. It was impossible. I called
Yeah,
every hour of the day. Couldn't do it.
Which phone did you use?
you have to call. You have to call from the
Yeah.
hotel. That's the
Oh,
thing.
The how
God.
you have to use certain phones to call was weird to me.
Yeah, it's very
another
strange.
thing. Another thing though, the phones. Fuck the phone. Fuck the phone numbers, okay?
The
You
old
can
school, you have to remember it.
Yes, not only
Yeah.
you have to remember it, but the whole like, oh, whether you do just the 555 number, or have the one, the three things, but like in some of those, they don't mention the one. They just do the three numbers in parentheses, the 555 and the number, and it's like, okay, like if some kid were to play this, how is he supposed to know he's supposed to put the one in front of the three numbers, or to omit the regional number like the 805 or something like that in parentheses. Like, we're not all smart here. We don't all know how phones work. We don't all call in different regions and everything. So I think the secret is Scarlet Hand when it comes to phones. They thought they treated us like we were supposed to know all that kind of stuff, but no. Then no. Either have the if we have to just do the 555 four numbers, then just write it like this. Don't add this bullshit like the three numbers in parentheses. And
I
if
think
we have to do like the numbers in parentheses, add put the one on the paper, put the one in front of it. What are you doing?
this is a moment where the game's almost 20-year existence is showing how it's the old school, when you probably would have known that in 2002 if you called people on a landline.
Not kids.
Yeah.
Not kids.
Well, yeah,
Not
because
kids.
I
Okay.
don't know. Probably.
Yeah, well, because the three numbers of the area code. But I don't think you have to do this anymore. But back then, you had to dial 1 for America, and then there was like a different number if you were dialing international. I think
But
it's why you had to include the
local
1.
versus long distance too. So if it was long distance, you have to do 1 and then the area
Mhm.
code. But if it was a local number, like when
Yeah.
you call the Cinnabar guy, that's like a local store number. So then you would
Yeah.
just have to dial the 555, whatever. But yeah, it's now a historical
Right.
document showing how phones worked in 2002.
Yeah, I mean, Franklin Rose has a Rolodex, so that tells you how old
I
this
love.
game is.
Oh yeah, we never said anything about Franklin Rose. Yeah, Franklin Rose was there.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Franklin Rose is Mr. Rose. Okay, let's move on.
So then I don't have anything else other than a funny fact that Nancy complains about how heavy the stones are. And if she tries to go to the rotunda, she will drop them. But like it's totally a shorter distance than to the monolith.
That's true.
Oh,
Do we want to talk about the music?
I mean, I think what is his name? Kevin Manthe? I think that's the name. I don't know how to
I'm
say.
sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry to him. I don't know to say his last name. I think he went off on this music. I was a fan. I mean, I wish it wasn't so repetitive, like it just constantly cycles through the different
yeah.
music, but I thought it was pretty good.
The music is good, but like it keeps going again and again and again. Especially no, it's not. It's the whole game. It's the same music for the whole game. There are sometimes it's like
When you pick up one of the carvings, it's like a flute music. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, that's like really kind of like popular within the games because like you also kind of hear that happening in Message in the Royal Tower. There's when you pick up the certain stuff or do certain things, you get little music playing.
but
Oh yeah, you talked
but
about
there
that. in
are
Treasure in the
different
Royal Tower.
tracks, not just this one. There are 3 different. I recall 3 different tracks, but the one that sticks the most in my brain because I heard it too much is the one that sounds is like it's the not the guitar,
No.
it's the string instrument.
I don't know what you're
I am
talking
tone
about.
deaf. Apparently,
No
I'm
one
tone deaf.
remembers.
There's
Well,
the guitar.
y'all played the game. You know what I'm talking about.
There's the guitar one, and then there's the one with like the people that are like, "Rah." You know what I'm talking about? Those are the 2 that I remember.
I guess we okay. When it comes to music, we're not the department here. We're not the department for the music. But
Oh
I will
my
say
goodness.
good.
And if that's it, that's everything I have to say. I don't know about y'all, but we can move into our overall opinions and our scores
Yeah.
about this
Sounds
game.
good to me.
Who would like to go first today?
I can go first. So this game is actually one of my favorites because it was the first Nancy Drew game I ever played back when I was a kid. So it has a lot of sentimental value for me, which I think makes me feel like it's like a better game than it actually is. Because looking back, like it's still a really good game, but there's some things that I think don't hold up as well. Like the gameplay can be a little clunky sometimes, like with the controls. And one thing that I like and also dislike is the fact that like it feels more realistic as a mystery because Nancy kind of starts out doing something else and then she kind of eases into the mystery. But at the same time, I was watching a streamer play it today and it took her like 2 hours to actually get to the mystery. So I was like, I don't know, like it could have, I guess, taken less time. Like the puzzles do take a little while to solve before the actual mystery starts. So I think it's like a good and bad thing. So I guess overall, I would give this one an 8 out of 10.
I can go next. I'll be short. So I have some fondness over this game. My feelings on this game overall is that I have a lot of fondness over this game, but mostly about Henrik and Alejandro. I love some cute hot boys. I don't know. But I cannot let my horniness dictate about the overall game. So if I'm gonna have to be honest, if I'm gonna have to be honest, this game was kind of torturous. It was torturous to go through. I will have to give this a 6 out of 10, and I'm so sorry to my boy Alejandro and Eric. I love you so much, but yeah, it's a no. Like you are passable. You are passable. I will play it for maybe once every 2 years, I guess. But it is not up there for me, but it's not bad. Don't get me wrong, it is not bad. It's just slightly torturous to play. Especially when it comes to the gameplay and, triggering the events, the mystery and all of that. It's just not my cup of tea. It is not the if I were to think about a museum game, if someone were to ask me, "Oh, I love museums. I love Nancy Drew. What would you recommend me?" I'm sorry to say this, not Secrets of the Scarlet Hand. Yes,
Sad.
yeah, it pains me to say it because two of the characters are super hot and I love them, and one of them is probably I probably my husband, my second husband, if I could.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Which one are you talking about here? My husband?
No, wait, hold on. Okay, yeah, no, okay, second and third husband. There you go. I said it. Like I got it. I can't choose.
She's going to be pushing me off a pyramid next.
Yes, yeah. Like I mean, watch out, Heidi, because I am secretly Prudence Rutherford coming for your husband.
All right. So overall feelings about this game, I do really enjoy this game. It's in a museum. It's something different, but I will agree with Tina that I do prefer when we're in Greece and that museum and like that whole like plot line of it a little bit. Like I also just really like Greece. Nothing against Mayan art. I just am partial to that. As someone who's like worked in an art museum before, I have a very strong appreciation for all art. So, like, this was a lot of fun to watch, but also it made me very angry to watch Nancy grab everything without gloves, and then Sunny June also messing with everything and ruining everything that, like, museums do, and, like, touching everything and opening all the cases. And the fact that there's, like, no, like, alarm systems on these cases is also just kind of, like, mind-blowing, but this was 2002, and times have changed where you can't get into cases that easy and mess with stuff. So I really did enjoy this game. Would I play it often? No, not really high up there on my list of what I would play currently. There's just a lot of things you have to trigger, and my brain probably would have such a hard time figuring out what I needed to do next. Even with a task list, I struggle. But I would probably give this 6 out of 10. We'll do 6 out of 10.
So, for me, this is one of those special things to me that was life-changing to me as a child. It was my first time learning about the Maya. It was my first time learning about kind of museums and archaeology, and it really set me up to do what I'm doing today. Like, I probably wouldn't have done this stuff if I didn't play this game, which seems crazy, but it's like I thought about this game and it was so important to me as a child, and it really reflected later on in my life what I wanted to do. So going off of that, and also with Nancy Drew games, I prefer more real world, realistic, logical puzzles, like the tasks that you do in the museum. And I prefer conversations that are step by step and all kind of make sense. So like some of the later games, I feel like the conversation doesn't make as much sense. So this game is kind of everything I want in both life and the game, and in Nancy Drew games. So if I'm rating the games based on the other games, so this one would be my 10 out of 10 game. And then everything else is kind of under that to me. So I know I'm a little biased because I love archaeology, obviously. So this to me is my 10 out of 10 game. Like, it doesn't get better than this for me, for both sentimental reasons and my preference for gameplay.
No, I totally get it. There's some games I rate high because of the history.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
and all the
Mhm.
history fun facts, because I'm a big history nerd.
Mhm.
All right, that's our conclusions, and then we'll do our outro after I finish stretching, because I'm very stretchy. Thank you so much for joining us today. I just want to give a big thank you to our special guest. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so exciting. I absolutely loved it and had a great time. So thanks so much.
I'm glad you enjoyed
Yeah,
it.
thank you so much
Thank
for
you for
joining.
coming. It was a lot of fun. I loved hearing everything you had to say, all like the cool little facts you had to say. So thank you.
I hope it wasn't too boring.
No, not at all.
No, not at all.
Fascinating. You can find The Real Housewives of River Heights on any podcast streaming service such as Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Check out our Patreon for bonus content and to access our episodes early. Follow us on all of our social media. Links will be in the bio. Thank you again, and goodbye.
Bye.
And I hit the stop button.